Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, November 18th, 2021. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You can see again a very significant rally that's begun since the beginning of the quarter. This is exactly what we were looking for after a pullback here over several weeks. We were looking for price to come into the previous quarter's low for a shot at pushing higher. It almost got there. It got below the previous quarter's close, pushed higher, and is now sitting above the FOMC key level that minted on November 3rd. Right now we have a narrow range that is developed at the highs, or developing range, trading range here. And we also have a 4-day narrow range that is developed or is currently developing. You can see right now the developing 4-day range here, 52% of average compression. At the moment, the overall trending price action here is to the upside, so even if we were to break this narrow range to the downside here, it could provide an opportunity to trap and return higher as the directional conviction remains bullish. But right now, again, narrow trading range type of price action that could persist, but soon a breakout could be seen. If it's to the downside, look for price to drop until we find rejection, perhaps near where we found rejection before. That could provide an opportunity to fade and return to new highs. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. Looking at the NQ right now, this one's up about 0.5%. This one has rallied off of the recent lows very nicely and is right near the previous week's high and the highs of the month. Again, that is what we expected here recently, was for a continuation toward the previous week's high between 16,400 and 16,450. We're right in that zone right at this moment. And again, at some point we may see a fade up here that opens up a return back down as we trade in a range. But in order for this thing to really push through, you have to see a transition phase through the 16,400, 16,450 zone to get a real good push out of here. Otherwise, we could be fading back down toward the FOMC key level below near 16K. Keep in mind this is also R3 on the yearly PivotBoss composite bands. Coming into that level for a secondary test could open up a return back down in the near term. But again, overall, this thing remains bullish. Hard to fade it until you see signs of rejection. All right, let's take a look here at crude oil. Now for crude, we've gotten a wipeout of the 78s. That's something we talked about before. This level right there, we mentioned when price rejected off the 85s back down that we were kind of in the middle of the chop here, and to avoid the chop until we get back to an edge here or an edge here. And on rollover here, you see the gap down in the continuation. We have now hit the 78s, pushed through it, that key level there. We hit the previous quarter's high price right there, and today we are seeing a rejection of the previous session's low. That right there is providing an opportunity to push this thing higher. And so far, after price drove downward and pushed back above the low has held as support for the last several hours, and now you're seeing a failed new low develop. So big down day here, opposite day here, buy signal that could be developing here from an extreme reversal perspective. Now keep in mind, if price can continue to stay above 77s today, the previous low, and we close bullish, there is the potential here to bounce back toward the midpoint of the recent sell-off. So you have 85s here, you have 76.50 here. The midpoint up above could be in play, and that midpoint is right here at about 81s. So that's the midpoint there. So we're looking at basically this high right here. We're looking at this low right here. That's your midpoint. That's about 81, 80, 80, right in that zone. So that's the snapback target right there, with a shot to continue higher toward the opposite side of the range. So right now, very good expanding range is developing at the moment here in crude oil. If this thing can continue to hold this fade zone right here, we could be looking at a great snapback to the middle of the range, followed by a continuation toward the top end of the range. All right, let's take a look now, lastly, at gold futures. You'll see gold futures here had the outside reversal here to the downside. The next day closed above the mid, and we remained inside a narrow range. So a false signal here for gold in the previous couple of days here, and instead we're holding at these highs. Still a very significant breakout, and this strong top right now looking weaker right now as price remains within this range here and an upward sloping PIMA trigger zone. So at the moment here, any pullback could still be seen as a buying opportunity as this thing attempts to push through 1900 into the next upside target of 1920. 1850 remains a key level, 1840. So as long as price can pull back into that zone and hold it, there's still upside that could be ahead until proven otherwise. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.